Good day. Good day. I hope you are doing well, you guys. I'm excited, first of all, to share that I'm back. I took about a 2-month hiatus of interviewing people. I had some things I was working on in the background, trying to figure some stuff out, and I'm back. And today, Chantelle Neufeld is my first guest that I'm going to be interviewing. Now, do you know anybody who has experienced trauma in their life? I'm pretty sure I experienced a lot of trauma as a child. But you know what's interesting is when I was going through the trauma, I had no idea it was trauma. I had no idea it was traumatic. I had no idea how it was going to affect my future. And it did. It affected it tremendously. Well, today, my guest, Chantelle Neufeld, is going to help us by helping us understand how hypnosis can help with trauma. And she's going to talk about timeline therapy, something I've heard a little bit about recently, and I'm really interested to find out what it really, really is. So Chantelle lives in Manitoba, Canada, and she's a mom of 3 teenagers. Give her a shout out for that, because I had 2 teenagers, which was bad enough. She's got 3 of them. So she's passionate about helping people feel better emotionally. And as a hypnotherapist, Chantelle offers online timeline therapy, which fast forwards the emotional healing process through guided visualization, comfortably releasing emotion that has been locked away. And later in the broadcast, Chantelle is going to offer a free download for you guys of hypnosis, which is going to be really awesome. So make sure you stick around for that. If you're watching live, put hashtag live in the comments. And if you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments. So without further ado, let's welcome Chantelle to the show. And here she is. Let me get myself situated a little bit better there. Hi, Chantelle. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I'm excited to learn about this timeline therapy, really like what it is, how it helps people. Maybe if you have any history on it of how it got started or anything like that, I'd like to learn about that. But before we get into that, how do you deal with 3 teenagers?
I just take one day at a time. You know, one day you're their best friend and the next day you're their worst enemy. So you just gotta remember that we have hormones and they also do. And
that's true. Yeah.
a little forgiveness and compassion goes a long way.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's so good, because I didn't have that mindset when my kids were teenagers. So poor things, but they made it through it alive, and so did I. So
Awesome.
We're here to talk about it later. So how did you get into, I guess, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story, like how you got into hypnosis or timeline therapy and all that? I'd love to hear your story about how you got into that.
Okay, well, when I was a teenager, I wanted to be a therapist, but I just didn't know like how to go about it and what to do. And I had kids like right away. I got married at 18 and then had kids right away. And so, the idea of going to school seemed really far away. And then an opportunity came up for me to go to this training in the city about 2 hours away. And I went there and I had really no idea what it would be about, but I know that I was like divinely led there because the stuff I learned there was amazing, and it helped my healing process as I was going through the training and practicing the things that I was learning. And what really I don't know, like I said that I wanted to be a therapist when I was a teenager, but we have these dreams and sometimes just never go for it until we get this push. And my push happened to be some deaths in my family. My sister died from cystic fibrosis in 2015, and my brother died from suicide in 2016. And as you know, those of you who have lost family members, that is a very low place to be. And I myself looked for answers. I myself looked for healing. And also, when my brother looked for answers and for help with talk therapy before he died, he didn't find anything that worked. And I was just committed and just so
Uh-oh, I can't hear you guys. I'm not sure if you can. In case you can, I won't say anything. That doesn't work very well. So Chantelle, if you can hear me, go ahead and exit and then come back in. And I really wanted to get into this because the the timeline therapy, I wanted to hear about her story also about you being divinely led. Like, how do you know when you're being divinely led to something? You yourself watching, what is something that you've been divinely led to? I'd love to hear from you. So let me do this. Wait, let me pull her away from the, hold on just one second here. Let me see if I can get this figured out. Bring her back up. Okay, she's frozen on her end. Okay, what's something in your life that you've been divinely led to, and how did you know that you were divinely led? And I can share, just really quick while I'm waiting here to see when Chantelle pops back on, but I can share, for me. Oh my gosh, I didn't even introduce myself. So, I'm going to introduce myself, and I'm going to share with you guys my new 30-second introduction because, as a business owner, and we're going through this. Okay, I see that Chantelle is back. So I just want to give my introduction really quick here, because as we're a business owner and we're going through our businesses and we're developing, we're growing, changing and all this stuff, right? We have to introduce ourselves. And when we introduce ourselves, it has to make sense to the people who are listening. It has to land on them. So I'm going to share with you, I just wrote it today. I'm going to share it with you, and hopefully it makes sense. And if it doesn't, let me know. And if it does, let me know, because it could really help me. And then I'm going to bring Chantelle back. And my name is Linda Sunshine West. I created the Women Mastermind Accountability Program to help driven women entrepreneurs gain confidence to ask for their worth, clarity to attract clients to them, and focus to make progress faster. Amanda tripled her income and got off of government aid in 1 year in my program. And Sheba got a $20,000 raise and also got off of government aid. My mission is to positively impact 500 million women. It starts with one, and that one is you. What female entrepreneurs do you know who are looking for a group of positive, uplifting, and supportive women? My name is Linda West, Mastermind Accountability Coach. Okay, so I'm going to bring Chantelle back on. Thank you guys for being there for me. Chantelle, sorry about that. So you froze a little bit there, so we had to kick you out and bring you back.
I'm just not sure what you all heard.
Well, you were telling about your brother and how you had lost your brother, and that how he was, I guess he was trying to find a way to help himself, and then that kind of led you to what you're doing now.
Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to find something that actually worked and worked fast, and I did.
So
and
how did you
therapy was not the answer.
Talk therapy? Oh, which is going to a therapist to ask you a bunch of questions, you mean?
Yeah, because it brings up all of the emotion, but it doesn't allow for the release of that emotion. Whereas timeline therapy is in hypnosis, and so when you're in that hypnotic state, it allows for you to release that emotion.
So how does that work? I know that we originally, when we talked, we were talking about us doing a session so people could see what that's all about. But you're like, well, it's 90 minutes. And now I'm all for doing a 90-minute session live. And I think maybe we can do that at a later time. But for this one, I didn't have time today to be able to introduce. So if you're watching this and you're interested in watching Chantelle take me through the process, a whole 90-minute session, go ahead and comment below timeline or hypnosis. And don't say hypnosis, because that's how you're going to get your free download. But type in there timeline, and we'll actually do it. We'll do a full session, and just full disclosure, I have done sessions like this live before, and they're absolutely amazing. I love it. I haven't done a timeline therapy session though, but and I am here fully present as to who I am. Any questions Chantelle asks me, I'm going to answer open and honestly, because I won't benefit if I'm not honest. So I'll share with you guys that. So if you're interested in that, go ahead in the comments below, type timeline, and then we'll do a live. We'll set it up, in a couple weeks or what have you, and do a live one of that. So Chantelle, so how did you go through a lot of different kinds of things to try to discover this, or did you just happen to jump into the right one the first time?
Both. I have a lot of tools in my toolbox, gone to a lot of trainings, gone to a lot of different therapists, and this is by far the best of what's helped me and is helping other people too.
Okay, why don't you explain to us what timeline therapy is and how does it work? How does it best help people?
So timeline therapy is a mix of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnotherapy. And the history of it is these two guys, they were very curious as to how these like really good therapists got their results. And so they went and studied them. They studied a lot of different therapists and documented what they were doing. And then they put together all of that information and made this timeline therapy process. And basically, what it is the first part is hypnotherapy, right? Getting the person's brain waves to like a relaxed focus state, because that's all hypnosis is when you're in a state of relaxed focus. And then taking the person above the timeline of their life, so they're disassociated from any traumas or any emotion. And then from up there, looking down and seeing, like, from their past. A lot of the times it's before the age of 7. Looking at a traumatic memory from a different perspective, like with the perspective they have now, and like seeing that that was then and this is now, and learning whatever lesson they need to learn so they can reframe that in their mind, and then releasing the emotion and sending the light and rescuing the inner child. Of course, it's a lot deeper than that, but that is the gist of it.
Thank you for that. And I have a couple questions related to that. NLP, which stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. Now, I hear a lot about that, and I've been hearing a lot of negative stuff about it. So I'd like you to, set the record straight, because I think I get it, and the reason I believe I'm hearing negative stuff about it is some people are using it for evil, and that's just like anything. And here's, it's just like anything on earth, right? Somebody could use this pen actually for good or for evil, right? You can write good stuff and you can write bad stuff. So it's the same thing with NLP. So why don't you explain to us kind of a little bit about NLP as far as using it for good? Let me hear about that, because I want you to be the one who's helping me to say NLP is a good thing, because right now I got to tell you, I'm on the like NLP is awful. It's evil, because the people that I've come into contact with who are touting it for bad. I mean, just, yeah. So why don't you share with us, like, share us the goods of NLP?
Well, first I'll share my story about the bad. I was raised in a cult, 2 different cults actually. In a homeschool cult by Bill Gothard, ATI, and also the local church I was in, IFB, Independent Fundamental Baptist. From the pulpit, both of those leaders used NLP tactics or hypnosis tactics from the pulpit and got people to do what they wanted, give them money, follow their teachings. So yes, I know it can be used for evil, but it also can be used for good. It can be used to reframe the stuff, like your beliefs, your values, all of the things. Like, because I was raised in that from from a baby, I didn't know any different. And like consciously as an adult, I wanted to be different, but my subconscious mind hadn't gotten the memo. It was still like feeling guilty for all of these things that I didn't need to feel guilty for. And so that's how I use NLP and hypnosis to go back and retrain my subconscious to be in the world the way I wanted to show up and with the beliefs and values that I wanted.
So how did your parents get involved in, because you were a baby, so obviously your parents took you there. So how did your parents get involved, and did they ever come to the conclusion or the realization that it was cult behavior?
Well, they're not in it anymore. They're in a different cult, but that's another story.
Okay.
Well, I just think that some people are very easily influenced. And, back in the day, everyone was going to these big seminar things. They had, I'm trying to remember the main guy, Billy Graham, people were going to his crusades and everything. And it was just what people did, and they didn't know any better. And people can be influenced by, a leader like that who is using those tactics, and they don't realize it. Like we had some really nice neighbors that moved in next door, and they were very friendly, kind. And then they went to this church just for a few months, and then they started being judgy and all these things. It was just because the filters of their mind were shifted unbeknownst to them.
Wow, it's so interesting how it can be used, because it's gosh, I'm just like blown away. Okay. So
I mean, people in sales do it all the time, right? Like when
yes,
people trying to sell you a car at the dealership, like you find yourself at home, like, what did I just do? Like, I didn't want all of those extras. And, like we think we're making our own decisions all the time, but if you're not educated on like the, the different tactics or, it's
and that's a
good to
good,
empower people. That's my focus is healing and empowerment. People need to know how
and
these
that's a
things
good,
work.
because it is easy to, if you're easily swayed, maybe, or very trusting, because I'm a very trusting person, which is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
And the blessing is that I'm a trusting person and I'm going to trust you that you said these things. The curse is that I'm going to trust you. And if you have an MO, or
You have an
you're
ulterior
yes,
motive,
thank you.
like a for
Yeah,
personal gain. Yeah.
yeah, then unfortunately, I trust you. So I don't, and it's interesting for me because I don't ever want to be untrusting because of the people who have tapped in that didn't really have my best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have that every once in a while. I wish, like, oh, I wish I had that guard, but I don't want to. Like, I
But
really don't want
we
to.
have these two parts, right, that want to work together. So this one part is like, I want to be trusting. I don't want to always be thinking everyone has a bad motive, which is what I used to be like.
Right,
Then we
right.
have this other part of us who, like, understands that there are people with bad motives and, knows that you don't just believe what anyone says to you at the bar, so they go home with you,
Right.
You have to have this balance. Like, there's always the what are they called, the polarity. There's both sides, and there needs to be balance and integration.
Yeah, and do you believe then that that awareness is that first step? Just like you say, like if you know the techniques, like techniques is a soft term. If you know the tactics, and you can recognize when somebody is using those tactics on you, against you, for their benefit, that's
Mm-hmm.
when you can then change it in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's
Yeah.
no need to be afraid. Like, I'm not afraid because I know the rules. Like, I'm empowered. And also our intuition is also very important. Like, if you get that sense that someone isn't, someone to be trusted, then just go with that. Like, uh, our
Your
intuition
spidey
is like,
senses, right? You're tapping
yes,
into your spidey senses.
yes, like there's this whole different intelligence that we're not paying attention to, and we really should. Like, even if it doesn't make logical sense why you shouldn't trust somebody, if you get that spidey sense thing, just go with it.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because I know recently, I hate to admit some of the things that I've done, because sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, how could I be so ignorant? But it's just because I was so trusting, and I didn't heed the internal warnings. And I think that oftentimes we have such hope, and such, maybe we're in a desperation mode, or like we have this hope, and that person is promising the world, that person is promising the things that we want. And so we might tend to, and our intuition might be saying, get away, right? But then we go ahead and say, but this person, and we don't listen to our intuition, which happened to me kind of recently in a situation. I didn't listen to my intuition, and I look back and I say, oh my gosh, it was yelling at me.
Yeah.
And I just believed that person so much.
Yeah, we
So
all have that story. We've all
yeah,
been there.
so the point is, right, is to have that awareness and to stand strong, like you were saying, because I'm confident, I'm strong, and to stand strong against those waves that are like pulling us.
Mm-hmm.
For those
Another
people.
thing I also wanted to add about hypnosis, like the word hypnosis scares some people too,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
all it really is a state of relaxed focus. You've been under hypnosis before, like you're still there, you're still
Completely aware.
yeah, yeah. And I like to empower people with self-hypnosis. Like, you can be by yourself and hypnotize yourself in order to feel more relaxed and let go of stress. Like, 3 simple steps. First step, like
Okay.
stare at a spot on the wall, just like a little bit above eye level. Like just stare at it intently for a few minutes. It kind of like blocks out everything else. And then you feel your eyes start to get heavy because like you're looking up a little bit. And so then you just close your eyes. And then the next step is to imagine that your body is relaxing one part at a time. And I like to imagine like a healing, loving light just pouring into the top of my head and just slowly like moving down like honey, just relaxing each part of my body at a time. And then the third step is to visualize your safe place or a beautiful place, whether it's a place that you imagine or whether it's a place you've been to before, just the most peaceful, relaxed place that you can be. And then that's it. Like you put yourself into a state of hypnosis and you're feeling more relaxed, your whole body is relaxed, and you've let go of stress because you're focusing on these other things. Everyone is in a state of hypnosis every day. Like when you're watching TV, you're in a state of relaxed focus. Everything else is kind of, you're not paying attention to it because you're paying attention to your show. Yeah, there's all sorts of, like when you drive from one place to another place, let's say you're driving home, you don't really, like you're not super conscious about every red light and every stop sign and everything you do because you're navigating the cars, right? It's not like when you first learn how to drive. You just kind of know how to get home. You're in that state of hypnosis where you kind of just shut off the conscious side and you're just subconsciously doing what you're doing.
That's true. Like how many times have you been driving and you get to the place, you're like, oh my God, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I don't remember turning left at that street. Yeah, that happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
And that's so cool. So that in this self-hypnosis state, again, okay, like I'm going to put the steps up on the screen here again. So it was stare at a spot on the wall and then
Just above eye level.
Just above eye level. Okay. And
Yeah,
then
like usually like where the wall and the ceiling meet. That's where I like to stare, like at the corner.
okay. Okay, cool. So it's like an actual like real focal point because
Yeah.
you know, like that's where I'm looking. Okay.
Yeah.
And then how long do you do that before you go into that next step, which is imagining your body relaxing?
It doesn't really matter. You just stare at it for like, I don't know, maybe a minute, just until your eyelids start to want to close. And then when you just notice them starting, it just sort
Okay.
of happens on its own. It's
And
different
then
for every person.
okay. And then what about don't do this while you're driving, people? Okay.
No, don't.
So what about if you're thinking too much, is this is to help you to get in that position, that state of mind where you're not thinking too much, and is it somewhat a sort of meditation in a way?
Well, the only
Then
difference between hypnosis and meditation, I think, is well, let's go into what I like. Everyone has a different idea of what meditation is. So for
okay,
me, meditation is you close your eyes and you're sitting there and a thought comes up. And what I like to do is I put the thought on a sticky note, stick it on a cloud and watch it go by and just say, that's okay. I'll come back to that later, and then another thought comes and I put the sticky note on the cloud and it goes by. It's not to be without thought. It's to not like attach ourselves to the thought and get carried away on that train. That's when we get stressed out. And the difference with hypnosis is that hypnosis has a goal in mind. So whether it be a towards goal or an away from goal, like if you want to quit smoking, that's an away from goal, or if it's a towards, I want to be more confident, or like a healing goal, like that's the only difference really. But it's in that the brain waves are in a different state than you are when you're just regularly going about your business doing your conscious stuff. When you're watching TV, your brainwaves are actually in a different state, the same state you are when you're doing hypnotherapy.
okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks for that description of the difference, because I was thinking that it was a form of meditation, but I see that there's a complete difference there. So cool. Thank you. I know you mentioned goals, which we're going to talk about your program called Hypno Goals in just a minute. But so now let's talk about timeline therapy. How does timeline therapy help? Give us an example of a situation where somebody had something going on. It was a traumatic situation. You utilized timeline therapy on them, and how did it help them? I'd love to hear like the storyline. Of course, not mentioning any names or anything, but just kind of like the storyline.
Okay. Well, there was this little boy, about 10 years old, and he was afraid to go outside. He was afraid of clouds. And his mom brought him in, and um, he, okay, so then doing the timeline therapy process on him, he went back, like when asked about the source event or root cause, he went back to the first time he ever felt fear, which was when he was around 3 years old, and his older brother had locked him in the bathroom and he couldn't get out. He had like tied the string on the doorknob and then the other doorknob across the hall or something, so he couldn't get out. So as a 3-year-old, he thought he'd be in there forever, and was like, that was the first time he remembered ever feeling fear. And of course, when he saw it from his perspective now, he saw that he was going to be okay. He saw his mom was going to come and rescue him and everything like that. That's not where his fear of clouds began, but that's where fear began for him. It's very important to go back to the first place that you felt the emotion that you're trying to release. And then he went back to when he first started to be afraid of clouds. It was when he was at his grandpa's cottage and they had a thunderstorm. And his grandpa went outside to like bring stuff in or whatever, and lightning like hit very close. And every time now he saw clouds, he saw himself in like a blue glowing skeleton. And so of course he'd be afraid of clouds, like somehow with that big loud sound of the lightning and lightning hitting the place like close to where he was scared of it. So anyways, he released the emotion, he released the fear, he like learned his lesson that he was safe there and all that kind of stuff. And then coming back when he was done the timeline therapy process and waking up, he went outside, was not afraid of clouds, and it was all good.
Well, so sometimes it sounds like sometimes it can probably be a really fast process, but it's not like that for everybody, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or like for every situation, because every situation is different.
Well, with adults, they need more convincing that it actually worked. So they're going back to like, like a time in elementary school and a time in high school and a time as an adult and a recent time, just to make sure that that emotion is not there anymore.
Okay, so it's tied into the emotion then, right? The fear,
It's a belief. It's a belief and it's an emotion, because like emotion gets trapped in the body when there's trauma, and it can be big trauma or small trauma, but to the person, trauma is trauma.
Okay, now there was something you said there that made me, I wrote this question down. Hypnosis for kids, what are the benefits? Because just you telling that one little story, I can totally see how hypnosis, the NLP, hypnosis, the timeline therapy, how all of that can really help kids. And I'm imagining as a kid, like I had a lot of fears. I had so many fears as a kid. And in 2015, I decided to face a fear every single day so that I could change who I was, because my beliefs, right? I had all these beliefs, all these fears that to me, they were founded fears, but they were really unfounded. They were unnecessary. And so I could see how this could have benefited me tremendously.
Did you by any chance, see a hypnotist around that time?
No, I just.
When did you meet Deanna?
Well, I never thought of seeing a hypnotist because I didn't know that might help, so I just woke up every morning and said, what scares me, and whatever
That's awesome.
popped into my head, it worked, right? So it put me on a huge path, right? So he's like, what scares me? Whatever was the first thing that popped in my head, this was my commitment to myself for a whole year. That fear I had to face that day, no matter what it was. And I did it 365 days. And
incredible.
Thank you. I mean, it changed my life, but like, I didn't even think about, like, I know, like you said, Deanna Nunez is a hypnotist, I know. And I never thought of having a hypnotist help me with that. I just never occurred to me, but I can see now that you're talking about it and mentioning about his, story, how something like this could really help. So how can this benefit kids, and what age is there an age that's too young? I guess.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Like, kids under 7 are in a state of hypnosis all the time. They're just pretty much in their subconscious mind all the time. So like play therapy is best for them. But people who are in their conscious mind, that's what, when timeline therapy can work. So it's all dependent on the kid's maturity level, and also dependent on if the kid wants help, right? Because a lot of
Right.
kids are, I know best and nobody can tell me what to do. So
I was that. Big time.
yeah, so it's not really an age. It's just a matter of maturity and a matter of realizing that there's a problem and wanting to fix it.
Okay, so if somebody, let's say there's a parent out there who their kid has maybe some fears or they're struggling with something, for example, what would you recommend for that parent for their kids?
Well, I mean, like it's different for every person. Like I would recommend that they talk to somebody. Like if like they could talk to me, and if they felt comfortable with me, let's see, there has to be rapport between therapist and client
Mm,
before any help can happen, right? So if there's no rapport, there's no trust, and then you have to have a rapport and trust in order for hypnosis, timeline therapy to work. And also, there's many recordings on YouTube for different things, like to help kids have more self-esteem, all that kind of thing.
okay.
I can make personalized recordings for kids just based on what they need after a conversation with them. And they can listen to it before they go to bed. I always listen to my hypnosis recordings before I go to bed. Like you were saying with my new thing, Hypno Goals. It's so helpful to listen before you go to bed because you're in that state of relaxed focus as you're going to sleep. And
Hmm.
then your subconscious mind gets the memo just like that, like way faster than consciously trying to every day do, something that isn't what you normally do.
Okay, that's awesome. So I do want to talk about hypno goals, but before we do that, I want to share with you guys that Chantelle has created a hypnosis and she's giving it away for free today. So go to livingliveinc.com, type in the word, I'm sorry, livingliveinc.com/hypnosis. There's a free hypnosis download for you. I mean, check it out. It's really awesome. I listened to it and I really love it. So thank you so much for creating that and giving us that free hypnosis. And so let me ask you another question related before we go into hypno goals, because I want you to tell everybody what that's all about, because I think it's awesome idea. That's why I wanted to bring you on the show today. I was like, oh my God, this hypno goals. I want to share this with people because it's really cool. So is there listening to it at night, like you mentioned, or like if, let's say, for example, if somebody listens to a particular hypnosis, like we're going to talk about hypno goals, but let's say somebody listens to the particular hypnosis in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, will this fast track them to meeting those goals that they have?
I don't think that you would have to listen to it 3 times a day. I think just right before bed is plenty.
Okay. I'm a
Yeah.
little overachiever sometimes.
Well, if you're an overachiever, then hypnosis is a fast forward for whatever you want to do. Just because it just goes directly to your subconscious mind, and that's where change happens. Like that's where everything happens. I mean, you'd
Okay.
have to go to a couple of days seminar to understand that, but that's just the way it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So you just like you're wanting to know about hypno goals.
Yes.
So you'd fill out a questionnaire and then have a call with me, and then we would clarify your specific goals, like whether it be something new that you wanted to start, or whether it be like your ideal work day, or whatever it would be, even like a healing thing you could do, or you could do like more confidence. Like it's really up to you. And then it would be a personalized thing with your name and your goals that you listen to before bed. And then your subconscious is like, okay, this is what we're doing now. Cool.
Okay. Now, can you give us an example? Because you mentioned, some kind of thoughts of goals that people might have. But as far as goals go, for example, could one of the goals be, and I know the goal can be whatever, like, because I have my goals, but will hypnosis help for that? This is really my question. So let's say, for example, one of my goals is to, and I already have it in my vision. I know this is happening. I just don't know when. And so can one of the goals be, you're speaking on a stage in front of 20,000 people? Because that is one of my visions that I have for myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course. Yes, it can. And I'm sure that you've heard that visualization is like a fast forward also. And that's what this is. It is a visualization. And so it'd be like you're putting yourself there. Well, like you can watch yourself on a movie screen, like sit in a theater, watch yourself on a movie screen, you know, in front of all these people. And then you can actually be there in your body, looking at all the people and feel what you'll feel, hear what you'll hear, see what you'll see. You know, you see their excited faces and you hear their clapping and their cheering, and you know, you feel just amazing, right? And so
Mhm.
it's that feeling, it's that vibration that manifests your goals faster.
Wow. So, okay, that manifests your goals faster. Okay, so being in that state of mind through
Yeah, so like
hypnosis.
hypno goals, listening to it before bed, it's like being in your own movie, starring in your own movie.
Okay, and then so it would speed it up because I'm utilizing a technique that taps into the subconscious
Hmm.
rather than being too much in my head, right?
Well, yeah. Well, when you're not in your subconscious mind, when you're your conscious mind is trying to keep you, you know, like, well, what if this happens? Or what if this happens? Or what if this happens?
Yes.
Right. So if you're not in that state and you're not like your conscious mind is like not there, then you're just fully in your subconscious, and none of that what ifs are even present.
Okay, awesome. So how can they find out about hypnogoals? You know, if you're somebody out there who is interested in fast tracking some of your goals, or maybe you haven't been able to yet um, solidify the goals that you have. If that's something, you can get on a call with Chantelle. Maybe she can help you with that. And then creating the hypnosis that you would listen to. Then, here's the thing. You reach that goal and then you go for another goal, right? Create a new hypno goals. It's not like this one's going to work for you forever because you want to fast track that goal. And that's what this is all about. So how can they get in contact with you with that? Is that through mindfulregeneration.com?
They can message me on Facebook. They can send me an email. Whatever. Yeah, I'm online.
Yeah, she is. She's really good too. I sent her a message the other day and literally it was like 3 seconds later. I was like, whoa, she's fast. Yeah, so this is really awesome. Oh yeah, don't forget your free download, livingliveinc.com/hypnosis. Go get your free download of the hypnosis. Can you tell us what that is? It just kind of like a general hypnosis session that people like to help people?
It's for confidence and self-esteem.
Okay, so if you're lacking confidence or you want more confidence, if you're feeling sometimes where you're lacking self-esteem, go ahead and download that hypnosis session right away. And Chantelle, is there anything I missed that I should have brought up? Because I got my notes here. I covered what came up for me.
I don't have notes here. I think we covered a lot.
Yes, we did. We did. I love it. So I want to thank you so much for coming on. And again, self-hypnosis. Find a spot on the wall and stare at it, and that will put you into a state of mind until your eyes start to close, right? And then imagine your body is relaxing. There was something you said after that was imagine your body is relaxing.
Yeah, like one part at a time. And I like to imagine the healing, loving light coming into the top of my head. I like doing this in the shower sometimes, just imagining that the shower water is just cleaning out any negativity in my body. But I mean,
I like that, but don't fall
yeah,
asleep.
yeah, right. But a lot of times people are in a state of hypnosis in the shower too. Like they're not thinking consciously when to use the shampoo, when to use the
Yeah.
soap. Like you have a lot of great ideas in the shower, and there's a reason why.
Yeah, I have my best ideas while I'm driving. So it is
Mm.
so good that I thought about creating because I do masterminds, right? So I thought about creating like a lunchtime mastermind where I would actually drive downtown San Diego, and during lunchtime, I would pick you up at your office and we would drive around for the hour masterminding because I come up with some really, really great ideas while I'm driving. So I thought I can't
It's kind
remember.
of like the walk and talk. This is the drive and talk.
Yes, exactly. It'd be the
That's
same thing.
awesome.
Yeah. I haven't instituted it yet because that means I got to actually leave my house though. And then lastly, in your self-hypnosis, you want to visualize your safe place. So what would this be an example of for us?
For me, my safe place is underneath a willow tree. I'm leaning up against the trunk of the willow tree, and I can see everything in the world, but nobody can see me because the branches go all the way to the ground, you know? And that was just my safe place as a child, and it's still my safe place. But I mean, other people like going to the beach or, you know, in the
Mhm.
forest. Everyone has their own place.
And then what do you do after that point? So now you've gone through these 3 steps. You're now in that state of mind where you're Is this just to calm your mind down, or what
Yeah,
would be the
it's
purpose of
to
this?
yeah, it's to relax. So if you're feeling stressed, then that's
Okay.
what you do. And when you're listening to a recording, like I'm guiding you to do those things. And then we go into like the goals that you want to have, or the healing that you want to have, or like the confidence or the self-esteem. Like every day your life is getting better and better. Like you are a strong, confident woman. This reminds me of the show Friends. Um, Chandler wanted to quit smoking, and so Rachel gave him a cassette tape of hypnosis. And so he's there in his bed listening. You are a strong, confident woman who doesn't need to smoke. And so then the next day he's acting like a woman. It was hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Which hypnosis doesn't do that to you. But.
No. But it will make you more confident. Like I was a shy homeschool kid, and look at me now. Public speaking, lives, like who would have thought? Like that's the power of hypnosis. And people don't need to have fear of these things. Like all you need to do is be educated and empowered and go about your life. Nothing to be afraid of.
Right. That's so true. Because, I was that person too. I was sat in the back of the room, never raised my hand. I didn't even like to say my name out loud because I might stumble and not even say my name right, and look at me now, I'm doing all this stuff, but it really is those
You've
fears.
You've reframed your mistakes are not failures. They're just feedback.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting. It's almost as if I did my own NLP on myself without even knowing I did it by facing those fears every day. Right. Because I just put myself into those situations. But but the thing about the hypnosis is you don't have to take a year to do it. It can take a lot less time. Yeah. So you guys go again, check it out. Go do that free download, livinglifeinc.com/hypnosis. And if you're interested in finding more about hypno goals, finding out how you can attain your goals faster, please reach out to Chantelle. And thank you so much for being here today, Chantelle. And I'll go find her at mindfulregeneration.com. But thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing, timeline therapy, sharing the story of the young boy who was scared of clouds. I mean, gosh, how amazing is that you were able to take him from being scared basically to go outside in the daytime. I mean, if you think about it, to now being able to live his life with that, free mind. So thank you so much for being here.
The story I was telling was my teacher. That was his his story of the clouds. But I just love it so much because it explains the specific, going back to where fear first began, and then going to like where the fear of that was. So that's why I use that example.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for clearing that misinformation out there. So that's for sure. But thank you guys for being here, everybody. Again, if you thought this was something of value, please share it out. I really appreciate that. And if you're interested in connecting with me, just go ahead and click on the link up there and let's connect. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And you have a great day. Everybody else, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.